Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Wrestling Doesn't Make Sense, where me and John talk about professional wrestling and about how much sense it makes. And boy, are you guys in for a treat this week. Well, you've been in for a treat the last couple of weeks, to be honest with you, because we had Money in the Bank not that long ago. When was Money in the Bank? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, sounds about right.
It was a while ago, before this podcast. And then very recently we've had All Elite Wrestling's pay-per-view extravaganza called Double or Nothing. And I think we should talk about that show.
Yeah.
So let me just preface everything by saying that Money in the Bank, from what I heard, didn't really seem to go down too well with people. You know, some people really liked the main event. A lot of people I don't think really did like the main event. We didn't like it.
Well, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, though I'm the same. Like, I didn't totally hate it because it wasn't as wacky and stupid as I thought it was going to be. But also, like, I didn't want to see any more of that crap.
Yeah.
Cut to today. We're talking about Double or Nothing. So let's talk about the undercard first. With a couple of notes that we can make and talk about the undercard. And then we'll get into the good stuff, the main event. But the first match on the card was like what do they call it?
Casino ladder match, yeah.
All right. And in this, there was 7 people, I think? 7 or 8 people?
9 people.
9 people. Well, I was close. 7, 8, 9, numbers. Whatever. And they had to climb a ladder to retrieve a giant poker chip, which makes sense, of course. And they did this thing in a ladder match where 2 people start in the ring, and then every 2 minutes, somebody new comes into the ring. So the 2 people who start in the ring, hypothetically, could just climb the ladder and win the poker chip, right?
Yes.
Why introduce that?
I don't know. It did, when they explained the rules, it did kind of come across as very Vince Russo-esque, I thought, like the kind of thing he'd come up with. But I mean, I guess it's just adding their own little twist on a familiar formula, and I guess trying to add a bit of intrigue by having the whole timer thing and starting out with Zacarian and Scorpio Sky as well. Like, they obviously tag team partners, so there was a bit of interest there to see, like, would they work together, or would one sacrifice the match for the other, or what? But in the end, they just started wrestling for 2 minutes and wasted the time.
That's what I mean. Like, first of all, I have figured out why they did the staggered time release, and it's only for one reason. It was only to introduce Brian Cage.
Yeah.
Other than that, there is no reason to do this, because why have it so that you can just climb the ladder and win the belt before everybody's in the ring? Because what the fuck? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Second of all, having the 2 guys who are in the same team start off against each other, and to show that just how little they give a shit, where they just start having a regular wrestling match in the middle of the ring for 2 minutes. Like, what the fuck? Why? What? But also, like, until the last guy came in, right? There wasn't really a whole lot of reaching for the poker chip anyway.
No, not really.
Well, they didn't. So that didn't even make a difference. That didn't factor in. Nobody really bothered to climb the ladder until all the people were in the ring anyway. So why introduce the bit where, it could anybody could win at any time whenever nobody bothered?
The only one who did bother was Orange Cassidy, and then he wasn't actually like setting up a ladder or anything. He was just kind of reaching up for it, and
he didn't quite reach it, did he?
No, he tried though.
Yeah, he did his best, man. He did his best. It was funny to see Orange Cassidy like not understand the rules of a ladder match. Like, I get that. That makes sense. Well, why would he not get the concept of a ladder? Like, those are 2 different things. Like, he for a lazy guy to not come in contact with a ladder match. That makes sense. A lot of effort involved in a ladder match. But for a lazy guy to just not know how a ladder works is a whole different leap. you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he couldn't figure out how to put it up. I'm like, it's a ladder. Not rocket science, it's a fucking ladder. Another thing I wanted to talk about with this match, Joey Janela.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this guy.
Okay.
But also, he doesn't know how to run.
Really? I
Dude,
didn't notice that.
That was the one fucking thing I noticed about him. He comes in like, when he came in, like in his entrance, he runs over like to try and like knock everybody over, try to get his shit in real quick. And the way he runs from like guy to guy looks so fucking weird. If you could do anything, I really wouldn't want you to go back and watch the shit show again, but just like try to see if you can find footage of Joey Janela running around in that match. And I'm like, does he run around like this all the time? It looks really weird. Trust me, go back and watch it. I'll see if I can find a frame or like make a GIF or something. But it just looked. Whenever Nikki Cross comes out and she's standing on the entrance ramp and she does this kind of like shimmy.
Yeah.
With her feet, like she's stomping her feet. Imagine that, but like forward momentum. That's what Joey Janela was running like. I'm like, it looked weird, dude. It looked weird. Anyway, that was just one thing I didn't like about that match. The fucking stupid skateboard bit off the ladder.
I mean, it looked cool though.
But it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know we didn't say any words for that outburst, but like, why? That's a very Hardy Boy thing. It's like, don't worry about the why, just worrying about the do. I'm like, right, but why would you? And then, there's so many bits where I just like flash awake. I'm like, and then this happened, like the end of it with Brian Cage puts the fucking, who does he put? Darby Allin on top of the ladder, and then puts the ladder on his shoulders, and then like throws it out of the ring.
Oh yeah, but after almost like tipping the ladder off the corner as well.
Oh, that did not look good.
Yeah.
Like what a dumb spot. Here's what annoyed me the most about that ladder match, apart from all of it, was that it's really long, right? It was like 40 minutes long, and that's like not an exaggeration. It was pretty close to 40 minutes long, but like it wasn't fun. Like it wasn't. I didn't think it was fun to watch. It didn't pop. It wasn't like heck yeah. Like there wasn't a whole lot of big spots, and the big spots there were dumb, like the skateboard thing. I'm like, it didn't seem like a very well put together ladder match.
Well, for me, it felt like there was too much overbooking, which was sort of the big problem I had with a lot of the show, really. But like you say, it definitely felt like it went on too long, and then the just where it felt like it was building up to like a natural finish, it would just keep going, and it is, I don't know, just weirdly plotted, and like you would have thought as well, like with Brian Cage coming out as the surprise entrant as the last guy in, and then he comes in, kicks everyone ass, and then he disappears from the match for like 10 minutes pretty much when he gets buried under all of the the crap they piled on top of him. It's like, well, that's not that good of a showcase for the guy. He should have just come in, destroyed everyone, and gone up the ladder and won the match, really.
Right, like that's easy booking. That makes sense because he's a big monster of a guy, and if he's like finding it hard to take out Orange Cassidy, like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You just reminded me of another dumbass spot where he's buried under the poker chip, and then Joey Janela fucking does a Death Valley driver onto the poker chip.
Yeah, that wasn't pleasant looking.
That was dumb, but also he like turned around for some reason in midair. Like if you're doing a Death Valley driver, you're dropping a guy. Like if he's on your shoulders, you would drop him like to your left.
Yeah.
If his head is like to the left, right? So Joey Janela like jumps and then realizes he's not in the right position to fucking do a Death Valley driver. So he has to like turn around and then like drop him on his head. Like you fucking clown. Like all of this is just for like such a dumb spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, dude, I didn't think that's a good way to start your show.
Yeah, but I mean, at least you can say the right man won, because I think Brian Cage is a guy who's got a lot of potential to be like, a big star in wrestling. He's flirted with superstardom before with like the way he was booked in Lucha Underground and his Impact run as well. So it's a fresh match as well. Him, like, without spoiling the world title match that we'll talk about later, but him against John Moxley is something we've never seen before, so it'll be interesting to see what that match looks like.
You'd hope so. I mean, it makes sense from that point of view, where this is this big guy and fighting. It seems logical to bring this guy in and put him straight to the top. But also, like, all these other guys have been on TV and been busting their asses and working to try and get that spot, and then here comes Brian Cage. You know what I mean? Like, how pissed were all of us whenever Brock Lesnar just swaggered in, and won the Money in the Bank after doing relatively little. Like, a guy like that doesn't fucking need to win a ladder match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a dissimilar situation here. However, the WWE will be criticized, and AEW will be vindicated for all of the good work they do. This is going to be a big theme, so strap in.
Yeah.
I don't remember the order of the rest of the matches, so...
next one was MJF versus Jungle Boy.
This match was okay. I think both those guys are great workers. But one thing that I find really strange about this pay-per-view was that a lot of these matches, to me, and I don't know how everybody else saw them, but they just didn't click right. Like, every match they had good people in it, but not every match had a good, fun, match to watch. Every match, like you said before, to me, was like 5 or 10 minutes too long.
Mm-hmm.
Every single match was way too long, and I felt like because of that, the matches weren't like set out properly, and none of them were paced properly, and they weren't able to get you like that involved with them. I mean, MJF and Jungle Boy was fine.
I really enjoyed it. It was probably one of my, probably the favorite match I had on the entire card, because they just went out and wrestled.
I would agree in that it probably was the best match on the show.
And they both had such like defined roles as well, with MJF like cheating his way throughout the entire match and like going down pretending he was injured with his knee and stuff, and
that was a good spot.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. But then when it comes to the end as well, where he can still wrestle at the same time, like that ending where he did they were like exchanging pinfalls, and then he did that weird sort of European clutch pin to kind of trap Jungle Boy. That was awesome.
I mean, that was good, and they did a good job of getting the people over, in that Jungle Boy still looks like a plucky face who did all the the best he could. MJF escapes by the seat of his pants, but the match itself, I was like, eh. I mean, like, looking back at it now, I can't say probably the best match of the night, but that shows what I thought of the other matches. Like, I just thought everything was really bland and boring.
Yeah, fair enough.
So then, what was the match after that? Was that the Cody Rhodes match?
Yes, the TNT Championship, but the belt which hadn't actually been completed yet.
Yeah, and then Mike Tyson fucking yawning through the middle of it.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
And that match again, they kind of did it right in that, Lance Archer is supposed to be this big monster, and then Cody kind of comes back near the end. That made sense. But the match itself was just kind of boring to watch, and then the end was stupid and overbooked.
Yeah.
With the referee throws out Arn Anderson and Jake Roberts, and then a minute later Jake Roberts comes back out. What the fuck, man?
Yeah.
He just got thrown out of here. What? And then fucking shenanigans happen or whatever, and Cody Rhodes is the new TNT champion. I'm sorry, that's clearly my mistake. But the match had good parts to it and good intentions, but again, I thought it was too long and it just didn't flow right.
Yeah, and I think part of what annoyed me a little bit as well, which factored into some of the other matches on the card as well, was that the rules kind of seemed to get thrown out the window a bit. They were allowed to kind of go out and brawl at ringside and stuff, and there was no like hint of the referee counting them out or issuing a disqualification or whatever. Like it was just like but this is supposed to be just a regular match, but because they're going out there and doing whatever they want, it kind of interferes then with the match on the card, which was supposed to be like a no DQ match, the women's title match, and it was the same eventually with the world title match as well. Like that ended up kind of stealing the thunder of the new DQ women's title match. So that kind of thing I didn't particularly enjoy, and like you say, it was kind of overbooked as well with the whole Jake and Arn Anderson and Mike Tyson bits at the end. But I mean, you kind of knew that going in, just from like on Dynamite last week with the face off with Arn and Jake Roberts. Like it was obvious they were going to play into the match somehow, and you don't hire Mike Tyson to present the championship if he's just going to sit there yawning. You want a bit more out of him. So
right, and I get that, but like this wasn't the only match with shenanigans in it, and this wasn't the only match where, like you said, they fought out into the into the audience area and shit like that. Like fucking the first match was this crazy ass fucking ladder match where you got to see people brawling all over the place, right?
Yeah.
That was already done. And like you said, there was like a no DQ match later on in the show. And also Jon Moxley versus Brodie Lee that anybody would have put their fucking money on spilling to the outside and being a brawl.
Mm-hmm.
Like
and the main event as well.
Well. For the moment, we're going to separate the main event as its own separate identity and work through the card up until the title match. And like who's setting these matches out? Like who's putting them together? Who's producing the matches? Because that shit should have been addressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it used to be, you never like if people were doing the same shit on the same card, like very rarely would they do it because you would notice it a lot. And now here we have fucking 4 or 5 matches like that out of like 6 or 7. And I'm like, you guys can't figure out a better way to wrestle. I mean, it's professional wrestling, isn't it? You know what I mean? Let's fucking wrestle.
Exactly.
They don't have to go overkill on this shit because somebody else is gonna go overkill on that shit.
Yeah.
Especially given what the fucking main event was.
And I forgot to mention this other spot which really annoyed me as well, was the one where Arn kind of, I think he tripped Lance Archer or something like that, or when he was climbing the corner or something. But then the second referee comes out to point it out, which is what led to Arn and Jake getting ejected. It's like, well, if you do that in this match, then why isn't that happening in every other match where someone gets involved when they shouldn't be?
Right.
It's like, if you're setting a precedent there, and if you're not following up on it, then why set it in the first place? It doesn't make sense.
But also, like we covered, like they were out. The referee was given so much fucking lenience. The referee was just like, yeah, fucking fight out in the crowd. I don't give a shit. Like, why did the referee feel the need to interfere and reverse whatever whenever Arn Anderson does one tiny move, but whenever those two guys are fucking beating the shit out of each other outside the ring for like 10 minutes, that's no reason to interfere at all. Like, what? Does that make any sense?
No.
No, it doesn't make any sense. That's why it's on the show. So then, was it Penelope Ford versus Chris Statlander? Was that the next one?
Yes.
Right. Here's the thing. This is one of the things I wrote notes about. In that match, Penelope Ford had previously been involved in a ladder match. In a spot where she hurt her back.
Yeah.
And so she's coming into this match, and the commentators are talking about that. They're like, she's injured. She was in the show earlier, she hurt her back, yada yada yada, right? And so they're babyfacing this woman, while A, she's a heel, and B, at the time they were talking about how her back was. She was kicking ass in the ring.
Yeah.
Like, she was dominating the match with a quote unquote hurt back that we were all kayfabing as a bad thing, right? So I'm like, well, that didn't make any fucking sense.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that match was what it was, you know? It was fine.
It was essentially a TV match. It wasn't anything special, but I guess it was meant to... I mean, there was kind of a crowd there, but it was meant to kind of cool things down after, like, the intensity of the previous match, I guess.
Right. So that match happened. Then was it the Goldust match?
Yeah, the Shawn Spears debacle.
Okay. No. Was that not one? I was gonna say, wasn't that one of the worst? I'm gonna say, wasn't that the worst thing you'd seen on the pay-per-view up until that point?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't great.
It was really stupid. It didn't make either of them look good, because I didn't get why have that on your show? Why did Shawn Spears decide, hey, I'm gonna go to a company that really treats me well, that doesn't screw me over, that gives me meaningful shit to do, and I'm gonna come out and Goldust is gonna pull my clothes off, spank me in the middle of the ring, pulling my boxers down to expose, 4/5 of my ass without pulling them up again.
Yeah.
And then he had like Tully Blanchard's face on his boxers, right?
Yeah.
But when they were running the ropes, it looked like his dick was hanging out. Because you couldn't see that till they do the spot leader, and they do and then they have to do a close up of his crotch.
Yeah.
But before that, he's running the ropes. It looks like his balls are hanging out. Right? I'm like, dude, what the fuck? This is on pay-per-view? Like, this is, WWE used to get people to show their tits in the audience, and they're like, fuck that. We're getting our bollocks out. I was like, this is not good. That was not good.
Oh dear.
Right?
Yeah, it was an interesting choice.
It wasn't good.
Alright, it definitely wasn't good.
No, it was bad. What the fuck else happened? Was that the other women's match after that?
Yes, that's where the...
So, whoa. So the first women's match was used to cool off the audience after the Cody Rhodes match, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Shawn Spears match was to cool people off from the fucking women's match?
I guess so.
I don't think so. That doesn't make any sense. Then we go to the women's match, the no disqualification match, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's weird because All Elite Wrestling's women's division is weird. Right? We've covered this in the show before.
Yeah.
It is weird. And I'm like, Nia Rose, like, why isn't she just beating the shit out of all of these people?
Yeah.
Like, she's a big, imposing character. And no, I'm not, this is not a knock on any of the women in All Elite Wrestling, but, like, some of them are really small. And I get that a no disqualification match is a good way to even those odds, right?
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't all of this seem really quick? Like, I don't feel like Nyla Rose had a chance to really show a whole lot of dominance as women's champion before she had her mouth shut.
Well, it's a tough one because obviously she was one of the people who was affected by, the coronavirus and stuff. So she wasn't able to travel to the TV tapings for, the bulk of the shows that they've had over the last couple of months. Whereas Shida's basically been on every show and picked up a ton of momentum in that time. Like, I think she's won pretty much every single match she's had this year, maybe except for one. So, in that regard, Shida winning makes a certain sense because she's got the momentum behind her. And, I think Nyla Rose is someone who's guaranteed to win the title again, like, down the line anyway. So it's not that big of a deal if she loses it here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not too bad.
You know, you do raise a good point, and I can give them the benefit of the doubt on this one because, you know, this coronavirus has been throwing everybody for a loop. It's been pretty tricky to get shit going. So, like, to put the championship on somebody who's going to be on TV more makes total sense. And it means that, you know, in the future, there could be a, you know, return match where Nia Rose wins the belt back again, you know, after this is all over.
Yeah,
that all makes sense. But, like, from a character point of view, doesn't make Nia Rose look that good.
I think part of it as well played into obviously what happened with, like, Hana Kimura, and I think because they really hammered it home sort of after the match, like making the connection between Shida and Hana Kimura and stuff, and trying to, which I didn't particularly like them doing that, but you can see why they did it, just to kind of hammer home that this is like a feel-good moment, which we kind of needed in wrestling, I guess, at this point, with especially last week with everything that was, you know, happening with Shad and Larry Konska as well from 411 dying and stuff like that. Like, it was not a good week for wrestling at all. So yeah, I guess I totally understand the reason for giving the happy ending here.
Okay, so we can give that one the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I thought that they did a very touching tribute to that girl. You know, Excalibur seemed very kind of cut up about it.
Yeah.
It was very genuine. So, like, that's fair, right? I'll give them that. Okay. But despite that, still not they're not doing so well at the show, in my opinion. Then after that was the heavyweight championship, was it?
Yes.
Jon Moxley versus Brodie Lee. The people were all very excited to see, because, you know, Brodie Lee never got his fair shake in the WWE. And here we are. The gloves are off. They can do whatever they want. Did you like this match?
I wasn't blown away by it, but I thought there was enough there to kind of, you see what they were trying to do, like trying to make it a kind of a big epic match with all the high spots and stuff, and you know, just basically throwing the rules out the window. But like I said before, it kind of ended up hurting the previous match because this one didn't have that stipulation to it, so they didn't really have just cause to go about, like, you know, slamming each other into giant casino chips, or putting Brodie Lee through the actual stage or ramp or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it wasn't bad at all, like, definitely not. And I'll tell you something I did like about it as well, was the fact that the Dark Order didn't get involved at all. So it was just, you know, Moxley and Brodie Lee. No added shenanigans in terms of that. But then that opens the door for, like, if there is a rematch down the line, then you'd expect them to get involved, and that could add to the story. But yeah.
I mean, I guess. I thought it was okay. Again, I felt like it wasn't paced very well. And I thought these guys would click better than they did, but just something fell off about this match. And like we said before, for some reason, like, we all know a Jon Moxley match is going to be a fucking brawl. So, like, why is this show like 80% brawls?
Yeah.
Right? Like, this isn't wrestling. This isn't what All Elite Wrestling is supposed to be giving us. It's supposed to be getting wrestling, right? We've only really seen one proper wrestling match on the show.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, the commentators at some point said, it feels like this guy, referring to Brodie Lee, feels like this guy has just got here and he's already in a title match. I'm like, yep, that's what TNA used to do. They used to get shit for it all the time.
Yeah.
When All Elite Wrestling do it, they're the vindicators. They're the good guys. At some point there was a video package, I think maybe before or after this match, before the main event anyway, where with Jon Moxley talking about how great All Elite Wrestling was.
Yeah.
And I would like to quote you something he said. before we get to the Stadium Stampede match.
Mm-hmm.
Bearing in mind what we've already seen on this show, Jon Moxley said, and I quote, "We brought pro wrestling back." End quote.
Okay.
Would you, given what you've seen from the show so far, would you agree with that?
Not really, no.
Doesn't this show so far is not dissimilar to a WWF show or WWE show?
Yeah, I'd say more like an old school WCW show.
Right. They haven't brought pro wrestling back because this is exactly the same garbage that the WWE put out, which apparently isn't pro wrestling, right?
Sports entertainment.
Yeah, but at least they have the fucking balls to say it, right? They're like, yeah, it's entertainment. What are you gonna do about it? Nothing. You're gonna watch it and like it, right? All Elite Wrestling put on the same product, and say that they've made pro wrestling great again, when in reality they haven't done anything differently, and everybody's falling for it. Everybody's biting the hook. I'm just saying, it's very similar rhetoric to other people out there.
Yeah.
So, we'll get to that. So, the main event, which is why I imagine a lot of people are going to be listening to this to see what we think about the Stadium Stampede match. Well hyped, big, crazy show they're going to put on. Boy, it's going to change the landscape of professional wrestling forever. Now, before we delve deep into the match, I want to say I heard a lot of people talking about how great this match was.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is not hyperbole. I saw a lot of people talking about how great this match was. They would use the word great. They would often use words that weren't great, but meant extravagant. You know what I mean? They were like,
yeah.
They were like, this is the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
And you know me, both of us, we enjoy watching good wrestling. We love a good main event. That's why we watch wrestling to begin with, because we want to watch the good stuff. So I was like, okay, I trust some of these guys. I'm gonna watch this main event because I want to see it be the best. You know, like everybody said that tag team match from whatever the last pay-per-view was the best tag team match all year. And I'm like, I gotta say, I didn't think it was, but it was a really good match, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm like, okay, I'll give them they made me like a Young Bucks match, so I'm like, okay, maybe they're gonna pull something good out here. All right. Now that I've clearly layered that up, I'm gonna say that I did not care for this match, and that's me being very polite about it. Should we go through this piece of shit like step by step, or should we just like generalize for a bit and then delve into specific spots you remember, or what's the best way of attacking this piece of shit?
Well, I say you tell us what it is about the match that you didn't like.
Is that the end?
Get it all off your chest.
Okay, number 1, all of it. Number 2, the entire concept of it. Number 3, why is there a ring in the middle of it? It's not. Why? What the fuck? Why bother having a wrestling ring in the middle of a fucking empty stadium? Like, what did any of this mean? What was the point? I liked the beginning when they all came out.
Yeah.
Through the cheerleaders were there, and then there's like the little entranceway, and they all kind of came out in like the teams. That was nice. And then 45 minutes of shit happened, and then I switched it off. Like, I did not enjoy this match. Like, I didn't. For so many reasons. Like, number 1, it wasn't a match. Number 2, it was really stupid. Number 3, nobody took anything seriously. Number 4, like, it had the same problem that Money in the Bank did, and that continuity-wise, it was all over the place. Like, they have all these different referees set up all over the place, but like it's gimmicked anyway, so that you can all specifically go off to your own separate parts and wrestle people in different parts of the stadium. But are these all happening at the same time, or are they one after each other, the way that it was portrayed?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't like any of this. There's so many things I didn't like about this fucking match.
But is that not more specifically about these kind of cinematic matches than the match itself?
No,
Like,
because the match wasn't fun. Why did he have to do that? All right, hang on. So you think that, like, if we take the fact that it's a more cinematic match out of the equation, for example, the Boneyard match at WrestleMania,
yeah,
it wasn't really a wrestling match, but whenever you remember that and you just kind of watch it for what it is, it was a pretty fun match. It told a good story, right?
mm-hmm.
Can you say the same thing about this match?
I don't necessarily think it told a good story, but I think it had enough, like, different spots and different little moments that kind of stood out and made it in its own way, a fun watch, or at least parts of it a fun watch. Like,
Okay.
It was very much akin to the Money in the Bank match. Like, they're both similar in terms of, like, the way it started with, like, everyone coming out one by one and being introduced, and then like, all the different, like, attempts at comedy as well throughout the match, which I thought here was a bit more successful than what we saw in Money in the Bank. Like, okay. I mean, come on, like, Hangman Page coming out on the horse was fucking awesome. That was ridiculous in the best possible way. But then it kind of went nowhere, and it didn't make him look particularly great when Sammy Guevara's already run back to the middle of the field while he's, like, trotting his horse around backstage trying to find him. And that was like 10 minutes after Sammy Guevara has already gone back into the ring. So, I'm not going to say it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And these cinematic matches aren't for me at all. Definitely not. But I can see why people enjoy them, even if I don't.
Well, I can see why people enjoy them, but I, honest to God, don't see why people enjoyed this one. And I guess I am in the minority because, dude, so much of this I didn't like. I liked the bit where Hangman Page and, like, Kenny Omega are in the bar and they've just beaten up Jake Hager.
Yeah.
And they kind of have, like, a little drink. Like, that's a nice little touch, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all the rest of that shit was awful. Like, first of all, they just left him there. They just left Jake Hager just lying there while they drink their milk. They hit him with, like, 7 fucking sugar bottles.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, man? Like, so there's so much of this was just way too fucking unnecessary and really just dumb and not like, it looked more cartoony than fucking Money in the Bank. And Money in the Bank looked like a fucking cartoon. But, like, this was just ridiculous. It was just dumb. Like, it wasn't a wrestling match.
I mean, the only thing I found really dumb was the whole Matt Hardy stuff where he's getting drowned in the pool, which, right. Which, for one, like, why is there a pool in the football stadium? I don't really understand that.
Yeah, that's what I wondered.
But for two, like, should they really be doing any kind of spot around drowning? Like, considering, like, Shad Gaspard had died earlier in the week. I mean,
didn't they film that, like, after he went missing?
Yeah, no, after, I'm pretty sure it was after they'd found Shad's body as well, and, like, announced, right. He officially died.
So, like, I understand Excalibur making that big play about the Japanese wrestler who died, because that was a very sad thing, right? And he was very emotional about that. But then, like, fucking half an hour later, for them to not give a fuck.
Yeah.
To tape that and to show it and to not edit that out, like, fucking days after poor Shad Gaspard had went through that thing, and everybody was talking about it. Like, that's not just, like, badly timed, but that's just bad taste.
Yeah, definitely.
No fuckers talking about that. Not a single, like, everybody's talking about how great this match is. Nobody mentioned that. If the WWE had done such a thing in poor taste, fucking everybody would know about it.
Yeah.
Everybody would know about it. They'd be getting such shit for it. But All Elite Wrestling gets a pass. Right?
Oh, dear.
This isn't I'm not making this up, though, am I?
No, definitely not.
This is I'm not trying I'm not trying to be a dick. This is what people think, and I think it's hypocritical. You know, that people can look at the WWE. Yeah, the WWE does suck, right? You and me are not at all defending that because it puts on some shitty stuff sometimes.
Yes.
But like to say we're gonna be above all that shit, we're better than that, we're different from that, and then to deliver exactly the same thing and make people believe that it's different, this is gaslighting.
Yeah.
This company is peddling us the same shit that somebody else is doing, and they're going, no. This is different. No. You don't get it. We're highbrow. This is much better. It's not. It's the same. Right? It's ridiculous. This is 45 minutes of just self-indulgent bullshit. What was your favorite part of the wrestling match? Did you like the bit where the man got hit with the sprinklers? Or did you like the bit where the man almost drowned? Or did you like the bit where two men silently drank whiskey together? Or was your favorite part of the wrestling match whenever the man didn't like the call that the football referee made and they went to the replay? Or was your favorite part of the wrestling match the bit where the man jumped on a horse? Or like, what was your favorite part of the wrestling match? The bit where the man put the little cone on his head and danced around. I've got a traffic cone in my head. What? Am I an idiot? Why are people thinking that this, like, if people just watching going, yeah, it was dumb, that would be fine because it is dumb. But the fact that people are not only defending it, but they're saying it's great. I'm like, come on. Are we idiots? You know, I'm not at all buying this. My eyes do not lie. It's perfectly understandable for me to watch a match and to not think, people have subjective feelings about some things, right?
Yeah.
You know, I understand this, but also like this is like convincing yourself that it's great when it's not, right? When I say that, I don't mean you specifically. I mean generally people are trying to convince themselves that this is great because they can't actually think that this was great.
I think that maybe the problem with trying to like rate it as as a wrestling match is, of course, it's going to fall short because it's not a wrestling match. It's not presented as a wrestling match. It's not supposed to be seen that way. It's supposed to be this like goofy, over the top, wild brawl, which is more leaning into the entertainment side than the wrestling side of things, which it's hard to kind of.
But that's what I mean, dude. Like, this isn't even the most entertaining of those kinds of matches that we've seen this year.
Yeah.
So it boggles my mind. And then, right, another thing that annoyed me. Here's another thing. All of the parts got wrapped up individually.
Mm-hmm.
So like they all fucking fight in the middle of the field for some reason, but then they all split off, and then every one of the heels gets their comeuppance. Like in every single segment, any of those faces could have pinned the guys to win.
Yeah.
Because nobody was looking after each other's backs. They were all individually like a little film unto themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever Matt Hardy got the better of Santino and Ortiz, could have pinned them. But he didn't. He just walked away.
Yeah.
Well, incapacitated them first and then walked away. But like, just fucked off. Right?
Yeah.
You know, in that part of the wrestling match where you just fucking walk away and don't try to win because who gives a shit? If there's referees everywhere, why wouldn't you try to win the match? Right?
Yeah, you make a good point.
But they just fucking walk away. And this happened all the way till the end. Poor Sammy Guevara, by the way.
Well, why
did they do the chase sequence with him twice? They chased him with a horse, and then they chased him with a golf cart. Why? Why is he the guy that runs away? Why do it twice? Why do it again 2 weeks after they already did the golf cart bit? Why any of this, right? And then, to top it all off, all of the fucking shit, they chase Sammy Guevara up onto some kind of penalty box thing with a plastic roof. And then Kenny Omega does this big one-winged angel move. And admittedly, it kind of did look cool, right?
Yeah,
when he jumped off
sure.
that thing, right? But at the same time, number one, you didn't have to do any of that. Like, that's an unnecessary spot. Like, that's a real fucking spot monkey spot right there. Right? That had no purpose. Second of all the other guys were already dead. We've established that. The match didn't need that. It needed something to put a full stop on it because they've been dumb enough to not PS the match to begin with. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were almost forced into doing something stupid, which is what they did. Right? But how is that any different from like all those fucking videos you see on YouTube or on Twitter of fucking idiot independent wrestlers doing dumb spots to impress nobody? Right?
Yeah.
Third of all, what did he jump into?
Well, it's like we saw that with Shane McMahon and whoever he was in that street fight against it. I think it was WrestleMania, where was it Braun Strowman? I can't remember now, but either way, they like brawled into the crowd, and then there was like some random platform which he got thrown off.
Right. But it's in the audience, right?
Yeah.
So that random platform could be mistaken for like a place for equipment, or a place where something specific is supposed to be going, or a place is cordoned off for a reason, right?
Yeah.
It could easily be explained by anybody because of the strategic place it's put in. It's not just, for example, it's not just put out in the fucking open where everybody can see it's just a crash pad, right? Right?
Yeah.
No, All Elite Wrestling just had a crash pad in the middle of a stadium, right?
In like the entryway, yeah.
Yeah, strategically placed underneath a place where it would look good if somebody jumped off it doing a cool wrestling move. But if you were in that stadium to watch football, what would that be? What's that big black thing supposed to be under normal circumstances? What is it? How do you explain that?
It wouldn't be there.
Right, because it was just there for that dumb spot. None of this made sense. It was all fucking stupid. Also,
Oh dear.
now I'm getting into it. Do you see the way fucking Kenny Omega covered that guy?
Yeah.
Just with his fucking arm, like so lazily put over his fucking chest. I'm like, way to sell the move. Oh, no, I did not like. And it was like when I watched it the first time, I'm like, it sucked. But the more I thought about it, I was just like, I really didn't like that. It was, I mean, at least in the Money in the Bank, Asuka won, so something good happened, right?
Yeah.
But like, what? Who looked good in this?
Well, I think
Hangman Page didn't look good because he spent half his time drinking or running away on a horse. Nobody in the Elite looked good because they got their asses kicked individually a ton of times. Matt Hardy looks. I mean, what the fuck? Like, why? I mean, well, I don't have time to fucking talk about the Matt Hardy thing, you know?
Yeah.
But like, did Kenny Omega look like a great wrestler in that? I didn't think so. How stupid was it to have fucking one of the Young Bucks with his ribs broken go into that match and do all that shit and still like have absolutely no issues whatsoever at the end of the match? And the thing that annoyed me the most is the suplex across the entire stadium, because I hate that spot anyway.
Yeah.
Whenever that Buck does it and he does the Northern Lights suplex, I love a Northern Lights suplex because you used to never see it, and now that's just one of his dumbass spots, and it makes the move itself look like shit. Because nobody is taking those 3 Northern Lights suplexes. Well, he does more. That's what grinds me. He just keeps going, right? He doesn't have any sense of timing. Doesn't know what the rule of 3 is. He just keeps doing those fucking things normally in a match anyway, which makes it look like shit. Because then why would you do it? If it takes you 7 Northern Light suplexes to put somebody down, that's a shitty move, or you're doing it wrong, right? So if you're suplexing a guy across an entire football stadium, they're really long, right?
Yeah.
They're really long. And he got up after a sprinkler went off in his face. That's all it took to get that guy up again. After a million fucking Northern Light suplexes across fucking God knows how many fucking meters of track. Like, it made him look like an idiot for doing these moves that didn't do anything to that guy. Right? All of this. I didn't like it.
You know, I think you made a good point about everyone sort of overrating the match a bit, but I think maybe you might be overthinking it a bit too much as well. Like, it wasn't meant to be this
I don't want this to be a free pass. I don't want people to go, you've just been critical about it because it's not a traditional wrestling match. It's not anything. Why was it 45 minutes long? Why was there a swimming pool? Why was there a wheelchair there? Why any of that shit? No, I refuse. I don't want to play if this is what wrestling's gonna be, where everybody talks about how great shit like that is. I don't want to play anymore. I'll tap out. I don't like that. I don't like the subtle way that people's opinions are changing, despite it's creepy to watch everybody go, this is great. I'm like, why is this great, but the other piece of shit is not great, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at something in the mirror and you're like, I like this one, but I don't like that one. You're like, just see him. Like, I don't. Oh, it boggles my mind, dude. I don't know what the fuck to think. What is wrong, everybody? Like, I can understand if you could watch that and go, it was alright. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you watch it and goes, it's kind of entertaining the bits. Like, but like, that was such self-indulgent, like, wankery. Really, really was. That was them going, we can do whatever we want, and you're gonna like it. And that's exactly what the WWF do, or the WWE do all the time. It's like, here it is, like it, or lump it. That's exactly what All Elite Wrestling just did with their entire fucking 3.5 hour show. So, like, this is what it is. If you don't like it, you're gonna come back and like it anyway. And I didn't think that was any of this was good because of the message it sent, and because of how this shit's gonna be going forward. I think this pay-per-view did a real disservice to everything. Like, if this is gonna be wrestling in general, or if this is gonna be All Elite Wrestling in the future, then fuck it. I don't want to watch it anymore. I'm done. Right? Does this all sound like too harsh?
I think a little bit, but I know where it's coming from, where the criticism's coming from and everything, and I'm right there with you in terms of, like, not being a big fan of these cinematic matches and the, like, general lack of meaning attached to them. Like, nothing really matters in those matches. It is almost just like one scene to the next with not much continuity or thought or whatever. But I hate to say it, but I think this is where the business is going now. Like,
right.
even when all this coronavirus stuff is done and dusted, I think we'll still be seeing these kinds of matches. And but I guess hopefully they'll improve as they go along and find more of a formula that works a bit better. But at the moment, so. I'm not a huge fan of them, and I can see why certain people like them and kind of enjoy the wackiness of them and stuff. But you're right, it's not wrestling. It's not what we signed up for when we started watching, all those years ago. And not to sound like an old fuddy-duddy or whatever, like someone stuck in their ways. It's just, it's not really what we're looking for in wrestling.
Right. Like, I always don't think it's fun. I don't want this to be the future. Like, right before WrestleMania, we were like, I sure hope this doesn't become the norm, ha ha ha. And then fucking already, like, fucking 2 months after WrestleMania, it's already become the norm. Like, oh God, no, just don't. Like, I don't know, man. No, not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of this, and I'm not a big fan of like the fucking dick sucking that people are doing of All Elite Wrestling. You know, because it is the same.
Yeah.
You know, if you like, here's the thing: if you play video games, right? How do you choose between a PS4 or an Xbox One? They're both very, very similar. They both do very, very similar jobs, right? Some of the things are exclusive to one and exclusive to the other one. But when you break it down, they're very similarly constructed and they do very much the same thing with what they have, right?
Yeah.
So to say one is better than the other one is a matter of taste rather than a matter of objectivity. Like you can't say that one is an alternative to the other one because of the same. The alternative comes from Nintendo because they disregard what is quote unquote popular. They disregard what is quote unquote the way you're supposed to do or be seen or whatever, and they just kind of do whatever they want, and they put more of a focus on like the reasons you play games, the fun aspect of it, as opposed to the more theatrical way that games are becoming, right? And therefore, it ends up becoming an alternative to what gaming is, even though it's more true to what gaming used to be, because public opinion has shifted.
Right.
Does all of that make sense?
Yeah.
This is exactly what's happening in wrestling. All Elite Wrestling and WWE are PlayStation and Xbox. They look good and they're nice and shiny, and they have all the guys, they have all the top equipment, they have all the top guys, but they're the same. And you can't say one's better than the other one because they're the same, right? They're not a true alternative to each other because you would be hard pressed to tell a difference of them in a lineup. The true alternative comes from somewhere else, possibly NWA, because it's stuck true to what brought it to the dance, but it has enough shine and enough like enough creativity, enough kind of like homegrown kind of effort to it, where it seems like an alternative, even though all it's doing is staying truer to its be a source material than the other people that's come after it with their bigger budgets. Is that a fair analysis?
Well, I still not actually seen any NWA, so I can't comment on it too much. But
it's been a while since I've seen it, but like it's a lot of fun. We'll have to do a show where you and me watch a couple episodes or something.
Yeah, sounds like an idea.
But like to me, I feel like that's like if you want to watch wrestling, that's how you watch it, because it's free on YouTube, so you don't have to go fucking search for it. It's just on YouTube, and it's just fun old wrestling. Like there you have a thing that takes itself seriously and not too seriously at the same time. But it's not like jumping into a fucking swimming pool or taping a guy to a wheelchair or dicking around on a horse. You know what I mean? Like it makes sense within the confines of the match and the presentation. Okay. And I feel like my overall point is I feel like All Elite Wrestling get way too much of a pass for doing shit they should be criticized for. Like, you can't criticize the WWE for shit and let All Elite Wrestling away with that shit. Right? That makes sense. And so that's deep down, that's what I wanted to do this podcast about. Like, I think it's hypocritical and horrible that people are they're so like, you know, on one side of the fence or the other, but they're looking at the same thing. You know, it's the same fence just looped around, right? They can sit on either side of it, but it's the same. They're looking at the same thing. Yeah. So like, it's bizarre to me, dude. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
So in conclusion, then you weren't a fan of this pay-per-view?
No, it didn't. You know, B- maybe. Oh, did I say B? I meant F. Like overall, like I said, I thought the whole show, for the most part, was okay. You know, there was some good stuff. Not a whole lot of good stuff, but like, it wasn't like totally offensive. It wasn't one of the worst shows I've ever seen. But the main event, dude, the main event and the opening match, I didn't like them at all. No. And they were way too long and way too self-indulgent and way too like, look at us now and look what we can get away with. I'm like, you're doing it backwards, man. You're not getting away with anything. You know? Yeah. Like that's not rebellious. The only thing you're rebelling against is actual pro wrestling, And I hate to sound like Jim Cornette all the time, but like I felt like that main event really was like the proof that those guys are just dicking around, and that none of this is going anywhere serious and it's all stupid. That's what I think. So if anybody has anything they disagree with, feel free to leave it in the comments. I would love to read that shit, and I'd love to talk to people about this. Because honest to God, I don't understand it. If somebody can actually explain to me, without sounding like, oh, you just don't get it, you don't understand. I want like an actual, like, I want people to tell me why this was great.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really do, because I've made it clear why I didn't like the match.
Yeah.
In enough detail to understand it. I don't think I was too incoherent. I would love to know what other people think, but I need proof. I need actual like testimonial, other than it was good. Shut up, So there you go. Is there anything you want to say about this piece of shit?
Well, I think you've kind of said it all, really. Not
I
much
did go
more
off.
I can add.
Did say a lot, didn't I?
I think you need to lie down now as well.
Yeah, I definitely need to chill out for a little bit and not watch some wrestling, or alternatively, actually watch some real wrestling.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so overall, what did you think of the show?
I thought it was a step down from their last pay-per-view, but still enough in there to kind of make it fairly enjoyable. Like there's, like you say, there was a lot of stuff which didn't quite work. I thought most of the matches outside of the Chris Statlander match and the Shawn Spears match went a bit too long and suffered from overbooking, but like there was enough there to kind of keep me entertained. And I, even though it's not my cup of tea, I didn't hate the main event as much as you did, but I totally get where you're coming from. So, it's all subjective anyway, man. Like everyone, like you said before, everyone kind of has their own point of view, but I'm interested to hear what other people's point of view is as well, like for the positive point of view for this show. So hopefully we'll get lots of comments and spark some conversations.
Well, that's if people can explain themselves.
Yes.
I remain skeptical. I mean, I want to be proven wrong, but I don't think anybody's going to be able to give me a coherent explanation. But anyway, we look forward to seeing any kind of responses anyway. So yeah, let us know what you thought about Double or Nothing. I mean, I would say nothing, to be honest with you. I feel like they rolled the dice and they got a big fat 0, but whatever. Yes, I think we'll wrap things up now. Because that one went on. I got off into a little bit of a thing there. But yes, I'd love to hear what you guys think about the All or Nothing show. Let us know in the comments. Thanks very much for listening and putting up with this bullshit. We will see you in the next episode. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good one. Rawr.